Hi, distance educators. My name's Cameron Diedrich. I teach for the high school, and I'm trying to help Ben Spieldenner out, trying to take some things off his plate as he finds himself doing a whole lot more with distance education than he was probably just a couple days ago. One of the things I'd like to talk to you about is how to set up permissions and sharing in your documents that you have stored on your Google Drive. That might sound odd. You might go, "Oh, I've got things in my Google Docs, and I've got things in my Google Sheets, but everything is really stored in Google Drive." So if you haven't accessed that recently, take a look. I assure you all your documents are there. They're probably not in the order you're used to seeing, but they are there. And that is probably the best place that you can go to set up your permissions and sharing. That's where I'm going to show you today in this video. So when you share things out on Google Classroom does a fairly good job of making sure that all the permissions are there. If you go to share something with your class, it's going to switch the permissions to make sure that all your class can access that document. But if you're using a different platform other than Google Classroom, or if you're just sharing things out through email, you don't change the sharing settings on that document, you may start to get a barrage of emails saying so-and-so has requested access to this document, and you'll say, well, what's going on here? What you'll need to do is go into Docs and just switch the settings for that to allow those people to access. And if you're doing that, or if you're sharing one document across a platform and many people, like 20 people at a time, are going to access that, there's an easier way than going in and putting every single one of their emails in. I'm going to show you that right now. If you're not familiar with how to get to this screen right here, when you go into Google, let me back out here for just a second. When you back out and you come to this page right here, up in the corner over here is our apps in the G Suite. In the Google Suite right here, they may look different than what I have set up. You can drag them around and move them wherever you want to. I'm going to leave that there for now. If you'll notice, I have all the ones that I use frequently, I keep up on top here. So here's Gmail, I've got Drive, Classroom, YouTube. Now I've got Meet and Chat over here because those are suddenly something we're using a lot, or at least I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to Drive. And since I'm already logged in, it goes straight to my Drive. And down here, you see I have all my folders right here, and then down here are files that I have randomly scattered around that haven't quite made it into a folder yet. I try to be organized, not so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up the permissions for this. I'm going to use this file right here because this isn't associated with Google Classroom or any other form or anything like that. Sometimes when you do those, it brings up a different type of message, but this is going to be pretty generic. So here's a regular Google Doc that I've saved. In order to change the permissions, I'm going to right-click on that, and that's going to bring up my options menu. And then I'm going to go here to share. This may seem familiar with you, especially if you've used Google Drive before. If you've not, this is how we go to share settings outside of the actual Google Docs interface. So when this comes up here, this is our basic format here. You may have done this before. You can get the shareable link. Once you click on this, it'll automatically set up generic sharing on Ashland City Schools. And that's great, but this is good for just one or two people to crack. You know, anybody with the link can view it, and here's the people who are going to get it. I could start typing things in like, let's see, we'll put Mr. Packard's name here. There he is. And I could just share this with him directly right there. Get rid of that. So what I want to do, just to make sure I'm getting everything out of this that I possibly can, is right down over here, it says Advanced. It doesn't even look like a button, but you can click on that. And that'll bring up this menu here. So before we get into the nitty-gritty right here, I want to show you a few other little things. You can still invite people just like you could before. And here's the place where you can decide if they can edit it or if they can just comment or view. If you don't want people to make any changes at all, you just want them to have a copy of the document, or at least be able to see the copy of the document, that's what you want right here, is just can view. If you are trying to collaborate with your students on this, you may want to select can edit. But if they have editing capabilities, you may want to still retain a little bit of control. And one thing I really like is this one right here, prevent editors, and those are other people who aren't the owner. You're still the owner. Prevent editors from changing access and adding new people. You know, we don't want this thing to spiderweb out to everybody and their mother. So I might just check this little box right here. And it'll tell me, hey, you did something, you want to change, you want to save that before you back out of here, and I will in just a little bit. One thing I would also want to make sure is right here are my sharing settings. If I hit change over here, you'll notice you get a whole barrage of options. And if you've done this before on your own personal account, you may notice there's an extra option in here too. Usually there's only 3 or 4. Here we have 5. You want to avoid the first 2 up here, and this is just for our own, it's for our Google Suite network safety. If we put these things out to anyone on the web, anybody who, if you put it on a Google site, for example, if you're making your own website to share with your class, you would think, oh, well, you know, you want them to be able to access it from anywhere. But this opens it up to anybody who can access your website. This is the same thing right here for anyone with the link. It's anybody in the world, and you know, we want to kind of keep it in-house. The best option you could probably pick is the one that's already selected here, anyone at Ashland City School District with the link. This pops up because we're operating right now within our own copy of Google Suite. Our school district has a subscription to this that makes this possible, so that's how our goarrows.org links back to this Google site. And that keeps everything in-house, you know, and that really makes sure everything's secure. Down here, you can still change if anyone with the link can edit or comment or view. If I want this something that I can share out that everyone can just chime in on, I might choose can edit. If I'm going to put this there so that they can just see their own copy, then I'm going to put can view. And I can hit save there for that. And then it'll bring me back to this screen here. I kind of skipped over this guy down here, disable options to download, print, and copy for commenters and viewers. That really limits your audience on that one. I could imagine you'd only want that if you didn't want other copies of it floating around. Maybe it's test material or something like that. You didn't want them to be actually able to print it out or copy what's in there. That really locks it down. So typically I would not choose that option. If you really need to, though, go right ahead. So I'm going to hit save changes. And now that's good to go. The cool thing is now wherever I put that, we'll have those permissions so that other people, when people access it with our link, who are in Ashland City Schools, they'll be able to get that. It won't say, hey, you don't have access, you need to contact your administrator. That's when you get that barrage of emails requesting access. So hopefully this answers a few questions for you. And if you have any questions, you can email me or email Ben too, and we can help you solve this a little further. But thank you very much for watching.